Okay, so we're going to do part of this today. So frequency table, we're going to do the first part of the vocabulary and then the first example, and then next time we'll kind of finish it. A frequency table records category names and totals. Okay, so there is a frequency table down at the bottom of the sheet where it's the creating charts example. So that is a frequency table. It's eye color, and then you put how many people have each eye color. All right, a relative frequency table is essentially the same thing except for adds a column, and we will actually do that when we do that example. But a relative frequency is a percent. So it gives the categories as percents of a whole. And you can use this to compare two sets of data more easily. All right, because if you have, if we're doing eye color and one class has 20 people and the other class has 10, it makes it easier to compare what percent of people have each eye color versus, whoa, I don't know what just happened, versus how many people have each eye color. I think that was something with my tablet. Distribution. A distribution is basically how the cases are distributed. Essentially, the table itself is a distribution, but how the cases are distributed among the categories. A lot of these definitions are kind of redundant, like the distribution, how cases are distributed. So like, which one has the most, which one has the least. It's kind of the distribution of it. We're going to be talking about graphing today, how you show the data in a graph. So the area principle is that the area occupied by a graph, so whether you're making a pie chart or a bar chart, the area occupied by a bar or a pie should correspond to the magnitude of the value that it represents. And by having an appropriate oh goodness. See, this is why I shouldn't talk and write at the same time. But this is why having an appropriate scale matters on a graph. And when you do a pie chart, drawing the correct angle, that sort of thing. In a bar chart, you all know what a bar graph is. But in a bar chart, the bars shouldn't touch. They should be separate from each other. That's going to be different from what we do in chapter 3 with what's called a histogram. For quantitative data, there the bars do touch. But on a bar chart, the bar shouldn't touch. And then a pie chart, you all know what a pie chart looks like hopefully by now, but it shows the data as a circle and the slices are proportions of the whole. But this is where the relative frequency comes in. You use relative frequency to do a pie chart. So those kind of the little bit of vocabulary for this first part. We're going to do the rest of these next class, or for the video for next class. All right, so creating charts. All right, so I obviously didn't collect data. I'm using the data from last year or whenever I made these notes the first time, and we're just going to go through it. So we're just going to live with the fact that this is not actually the data from this year, but I'm making this in advance, so it has to be this way. All right, so eye color, brown, green, blue, hazel are your options. I know there's other eye colors. People say that all the time, but you're going to live with it. All right, last year or whenever I did this, there were 37 people with brown eyes. There were 10 people with green eyes, 21 with blue, which was a little surprising, and 7 with hazel. There are a lot of people with blue eyes. So that's just your frequency table. All right. Sometimes you might have like tally marks. Like if you're actually collecting the data, you might have a space for tally marks in here and then have the count or something like that. We're going to start by finding the relative frequencies of these. So I'm just going to kind of extend the table a little bit and find our relative frequencies. Relative frequencies are finding these counts as percents. So to find a percent, we need to add these all together. So if we add them all together, that's 75. So whenever I did this, I surveyed 75 students. And to find the relative frequency, you just divide each by the total. So our relative frequency is going to be 37 divided by 75, which is 49%. And then 10 divided by 75. I'm not going to write the fraction out for all of these, but you do each one. So 10 divide, I'll do the next one, I guess. But I'm not going to do the last two. So that's 13%, and then this is 28% and 9%. All right, so that's how you find your relative frequency. Now, we are going to make there's 3 types of graphs that you can make with the data. You can make a pie chart, a bar chart, and a segmented bar chart. And there's a special purpose for segmented bar charts that you'll find out in the next half of this chapter. All right, so we're going to do a bar chart first. When you make graphs in this class, you need to make sure everything is labeled. All right, and we have to describe the graph. So we don't have a lot of space on this paper to do this, so we may have to kind of describe it off to the side. But you have to label everything. We have to label the axes. Let's see. We have to label the graph itself. So I'm going to label the graph eye color. We need to label this. This is going to be, we're going to do our, you could do either the frequency or the relative frequency. We call this frequency. So I'm going to do the relative frequency. So we need this scale to go up to 50 essentially. So I'm going to go by tens, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And you should label all of these, but I'm not going to have enough room for 20. All right, and then down on the side or down on the x-axis, there's going to be our colors. So we're going to have brown, and you can do these in whatever order. Brown, green, blue, and hazel. Okay, so then we draw our bars. Brown is up to 49%, so we'll do brown up here. And yes, you could potentially do these in Excel, that's fine. For your project that you're going to do with this, the little M&M thing, the M&M activity, for those of you that are online, I'll give you your data. For those of you, this was about 10. I maybe made that one a little high. Blue is 28, so that's almost 30. And then, but you need to do them by hand for that, please. And then hazel is 7%, so it's down here somewhere. There's our bar chart. All right, for a pie chart, you want to draw a circle, obviously. Oh goodness, that was not a very good circle. But you're going to use your relative frequencies. Now you could actually figure out a angle by taking the relative frequency. So let's say for brown, taking the relative frequency times 360, because the circle is 360 degrees. That's the fraction of a circle that is. So roughly half of 360 is 180. So I'm just going to do roughly a half circle, maybe slightly less. But this is going to be brown. And we want to, again, we're going to label the chart. And we're going to label the pieces of the pie. So with what color and with what percent. All right, so that's brown. Blue is next with 21%, and that is a little less than a fourth of a circle. I don't know why I have that being so big. Oh no, it's 28%. I have it 21 on my circle. So it's a little bigger than half of what's left. So I'm going to make blue out here. And then I'm just going to split the next one. So 9% and 13%. So I'm going to do something like this. So this is going to be green with 13%. And then this is hazel with 9%. Okay, and you can always do the little dashes to show the outside of it. And of course you could color it if you wanted to. And then the one that probably none of you are familiar with is segmented bar chart. And the segmented bar chart is 1 bar. If you have one set of data, it's 1 bar. So if you have 2 sets of data, you got 2 bars. But it's a single bar, and it adds up to 100. All right, so we need to go all the way up to 100 with this. This is still going to be our relative frequency. And this is going to be eye color. So we're going to go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So this is 50. I'm just going to mark that one. 80, 90, 100. Oh, wow, I could have been further apart on that. Oh, well. You get the idea. And whatever set of data you're doing, you're just going to make a big bar going all the way up to 100. And this is going to be our colors. Actually, you really don't even need to label them. You can do these in whatever order you want, but if you're comparing 2 sets of data, you need to keep them in the same order. So if I did eye color for one class versus eye color for the next, I want to keep them in the same order. So you're going to put little markers in between. So my first one is brown with 49%. So I'm going to put a little thing. I'm going to do brown. It's always nice if you can put the percent in there as well. Then I had green with 13%. So then I say, okay, what's 13 plus 49? It's 62. So just a little bit above 60. Green is 13. So 62 plus 28 is 90. So that's up here. So that's going to be blue with 28. And then the rest is hazel. And that's 9%. Okay, so that's what a segmented bar chart looks like, although you hopefully have straight lines, unlike what I have. Now, how to describe these. Last thing. To describe these, I'm just going to write out what you need to say when you describe. You're going to have to do this on your M&M activity as well. But the first thing you need to do is your 5 W's. So you're going to say, we collected data on the number of colors of each M&M in a bag of M&Ms for statistics class, on whatever, you can do it. And that's it. And then you're going to report the largest number or percent. You're going to say the smallest number or percent. And then you are going to say something interesting. For us, we could say it's interesting that half of people had brown, but what I found was most interesting is over a fourth of people had blue. I thought blue was more rare. So you want to say something interesting. So so for this, if we were doing the 5 W's, we say Mrs. Hagee collected data on eye color from all of her classes last year so that we could make graphs of them. The largest eye color was brown, or the largest group was brown with 49% of the data. The smallest was hazel with 9% of the data. And what was, surprising was that over a quarter of people had blue eyes, which was more than we thought, or something like that. So that's how you would do this.